preface this with, this is my first attempt at a live edge table. With that being said, what I'm doing, you may or may not want to follow. We'll see at the end how it comes out. So what I got to do to prep for epoxy, tape off all of the openings, so any of the knots or cracks, this stuff over here, anything that would allow epoxy to flow through from the other side. So what I'm doing here is I'm wiping down the tabletop with a rag, getting all that loose dust and debris off the table, just making sure that everything is going to be able to seal nice and tight. I'm using blue painter's tape here. I've found, based off some research online, that this is the best tape to use for this method. It's not perfect, but it does give you the best chance at sealing off with that wood. So I'm just going through, taping everything the best that I can, and hopefully making a sealed surface so when I pour epoxy, it does not leak through the other side of the table. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip this table over, clean out any of the knots that we want. We don't want stuff trapped in. All right, guys, so got it flipped over. You can see the tape is on the bottom side. These are some of the areas that we're going to be filling in with epoxy. So this particular product is sold as a surface finish rather than a void filling epoxy that you would typically use to fill a knot like this. However, I have used this product in a similar application in the past and it worked well for me, so I figured I'd go back to the product that I know. It is very important that if you are going to be doing this yourself, make sure that you buy much more resin than you think you need. The reason for that is the voids in this wood, it's a lot more volume than you would expect it to be, so I would definitely at least double what you think you're going to need. This kit was a quart and I used almost all of it. Alright guys, so everything is curing. I poured it. It took me a pretty long time. Got everything dust covered now. So I got one over there, here, back there. Did the leg. I had one boo-boo over here with the tape job. It started dripping, so I just clamped a piece of wood on there. It would be fun getting off, but I'm not too worried about it. It'll sand out. So now that the epoxy is fully cured, now we can begin the most time-consuming part of this project, and that is the sanding. I used an 80 grit, 120 grit, and a 220 grit sanding disc on almost every surface of this table. The 80 grit was great at knocking down the high spots in the resin, and then the 120 and 220 were great for finishing out the wood to a nice tabletop finish. Obviously, do your own research and use the grits appropriate for whatever finish you want. This is just what I chose to do, and it worked well for me. I will say, if you have access to a corded sander, definitely use one. I had a lot of downtime due to batteries charging, things like that. But nonetheless, I got the job done with what I had and didn't have to go out and buy more tools. So that was definitely a huge plus. Here's the underside of the tabletop after I got done sanding. Alright, so right now I'm just mocking up how the legs are going to assemble to the cross member. Just to give you guys kind of an example of what I'm doing here. So this is just a test piece here, but what I'm looking for is a nice flush finish here, and then obviously no crazy gaps. So this is where the tabletop is going to sit, and then this would be actually this piece as mocking one of the legs. Got to get everything transferred over to the leg, test fit it again, and hopefully everything works out well. Alright, so today we're doing some dry assembly work. I've got everything bolted up now. You can see just everything, hardware is mounted in, comes through, mounts to this cross member, and then bolted on the other side as well. So that's what the table is looking like. I'm going to get this flipped over and show you guys what we're looking at. Alright guys, so we got everything flipped back up onto the sawhorses. Now we're going to begin assembling threaded inserts so we can assemble and disassemble this table multiple times. So we're not actually going to be screwing anything into the wood permanently other than the insert, and then we have bolts that are going to thread into those inserts. Give you guys just a peek at what I'm doing here. Drilling the holes in. These are just my pilots. So I'm going to have a hole here, one over here, one over there, and that's where we're going to bolt the tabletop to the actual base. what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my drill bit up so I drill the perfect depth for this insert to sit flush with the surface of the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my calipers, or you can use tape measure, 0.96 inches, so basically an inch. And what I did is I take a drill bit and wrap a piece of tape that exact same depth, so I know exactly when to stop. I'm going to go drill out my holes to the depth of the tape, and then we're going to go ahead and put our threaded inserts in. So we got our hole drilled. Next we're going to take our insert. So this is a 1/4 inch internal thread, 1/4 20, and then outside the diameter is 3/8. So our hole is, or excuse me, it's slightly over 3/8. Our hole that we drilled is 3/8, so there's going to be enough material to bite down on these threads. So we're going to go ahead and put this in and try to keep it nice and perpendicular to the surface of the table. Just like that. So this is going to be our little test fit. And then this is going to mount to the base, and that's what's going to keep everything together. So we got all 4 installed on each side, so we're good there. What's going on, guys? So we got everything ready for paint today. We're going to be doing polyurethanes clear matte finish. I've got 1 coat on so far. We're going to be doing at least 3 on the bottom of the table and the base, and then we're going to try to do 5 on the very top surface of the table, just to get a nice smooth finish. I may adjust that as we go. So to apply this polyurethane, we're going to be using a roll-on method. You don't want to use a cheap brush. From the research I've done, I'm definitely no professional, but just based off the information I've seen online, you want to stay away from the cheap, like disposable brushes you can pick up for a few bucks, just because you'll get some brush strokes in your finish. So I'm using a slightly more expensive roller. It's about 4 or 5 inches long. Seems to be perfect, and I've just got my polyurethane in a tray that we're going to be rolling on for each application. I am super excited. We just got all the coats done for the bottom section of the tabletop, as well as the frame or the base. So everything is almost ready to be flipped over and finished off on top, and we're so close to getting done. I'm super excited.